Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and today, as always, we world build here. Um, it's like we're gathered together around the table before or after a tabletop role playing Dungeons and Dragons game, and we just sit here and talk here on Twitch and YouTube and hang out and have a discussion. Now today, our mind fuel spark is going to be from a television show called Travelers. Now, we've seen plenty of time travel trope-ish premises, but today we're going to take a look at Travelers and what we can borrow, give an homage to for our own tabletop role-playing experiences. But before we do that, let's just the channel and then we'll get right into it. And of course, all of you able to find this channel live are the co-hosts here. So I welcome all of you, your opinions, your insights and things. Let's get the show going. Again, hello. Hey. Yeah, we figured it out. There was firewall. There were updates happening in the background, and I had to turn everything off. So yeah, and doing it live is very difficult to do. Yeah, another show I've never seen makes it easier to draw inspiration. Rip off. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, it happens. If I had a paid staff, this wouldn't be bad. But the people working for me now are horrible, which is just me, myself, and I. All right, so and you don't need to see these shows. I just like. I don't know why I was so deep into these television shows during like the late 80s and early 90s and even into the 2000s, but here we are, whatever. My bad habits are your mind fuel. So now mind you, the Travelers is actually far more recent. I think 2015, 16 out. Actually, maybe I should look it up. And let's see, Travelers, 2016, 3 seasons. So the premise of the show is the most important thing. Travelers is a time travel show, and we've seen time travel shows in movies and novels and graphic novels and things like that. But the interesting premise of this show is that we begin with our time travel agents from the far future, and Yeah. The updates I was just like, what the hell happened? And then I had to realize what was happening in the background, and then it turned on all my protections, which prevented me from getting online, or not getting online, from streaming. So anyway, the time travel show is one in which agents from the far future are sent back in time to prevent the apocalypse. Some generalized, it's some unnamed event is going to happen to bring about a certain thing that's going to destroy the future, whatever. But the best part of this premise that I find intriguing is that the time travel agents aren't sent back physically. Instead, they are sent back, their neural pathways are sent back, their minds are sent back in time, and they inhabit individuals that, according to the future, have died. Yeah, no, not an Obsidian Star. No. Actually, I may share some things at the end of the episode about that, but whatever, about Obsidian Star, whatever. So it begins with various regular old folks walking around doing their normal lives, and they are in a situation where they are at the cusp of their death. And then suddenly, this time travel agent inhabits their body and uses that body to walk around, and they of course they show up in disparate regions in the city. They gather back together again, and they're here to save the world. And what I like about this premise and how they accomplished it, of course, this allows them to have very cheap effects, right? Human being gets ready to pass out or dies or gets robbed or has a disease or is about to OD or something. Yeah, and very similar to Quantum Leap. Very similar. I'm sure the writers have watched Quantum Leap and was like, how can we make this an Entourage type show? You know what I mean, with a bunch of different characters and whatnot. This concept allows you to have the actors to portray two different personalities if they need to. It also allows us to what I liked about the show was it allowed them to game the system. And it really, because with our tabletop role-playing mind, sometimes we'll watch things and go, I wonder what that would be like as a game. And it really, the characters in the show had to game the system to operate, and I really liked it. Yeah. It's so funny. Yeah, a little secret mechanic. Like, yeah, go ahead and try that. Like, super strange sci-fi stuff. See what happens then, right? Yeah. Permadeath. Oh, no change in zippers if you try to sabotage the game by attempting time travel. Yeah, it's like, time travel. Yeah, it's probably a one-way door. So, what do I mean by gaming the system? Like, the show internally was trying to game the system. So, the two or maybe three great conflict levers that they were able to pull in the show are the external, right? These time travel agents have to do the obligatory, we need to fix a thing in time so that the future doesn't, the terrible future doesn't happen. And we see this in a lot of time travel shows where a person, place, or thing must be altered to allow the future to happen. And what does that look like? Well, it's some ephemeral MacGuffin, like, for example, a physical thing. Something must be destroyed. A computer system, a scientist needs to stop or stop the creation or start the creation of something. Usually, like, some physical device or location has to be sabotaged, right? That's a really simple, mission-focused player thing that, very guttural, right? Hey, let's destroy the tower, the computer, the MacGuffin. The other one with people, place, and things are people. And Quantum Leap embraced the people portion of time travel and the butterfly effect, which is we need to reconnect individuals. If you wanted to be very much lovey-dovey, you need to reestablish or reconnect an emotional connection between two NPCs that hate each other, right? And that becomes the emotional component of time travel. These two people must give birth to a child, or reconnect to get their business off the ground, or apologize for words that were said 15 years ago, or something like that. And then lastly, sometimes it's proper place at proper time because time travel told us to. For example, two individuals must meet at a particular time and place to establish that connection, or a particular bizarre event is supposed to happen to activate a machine that will never happen, but the scientist and this quirky scientist has designed something and everyone says he's crazy until a particular alignment happens and activates the machine or something like that. These are all external things, right? But the other part of the other part of the show Travelers that's particular to these time travelers is that they are inhabiting the bodies of people that should have died at a particular time and place. And what's cool is that the agents are inside the bodies with limitations that they didn't ask for. So, for example, there's like a combat focused agent that's inside the body of a young lady that is supposed to have some kind of like be on the spectrum, some type of autism or something. There's another character that ends up inhabiting the body of an individual who has drug addiction. And all of the people they inhabit have limitations, weaknesses, drawbacks, whatever you want to call your tabletop game, that they didn't choose. And I can imagine like a DCC random table, some kind of thing like that, where the players are like, okay, they grab the dice and roll the D100 table or something and realize that they end up getting sent back in time to a character that, you know, might be wheelchair bound or blind or has a gambling addiction or whatever. And they have some kind of like either physical restriction or limitation, or they have some kind of psychological issue like an addiction or a fear or a phobia or whatever. Maybe they have some external elements that they didn't ask for, like maybe they were supposed to be killed in the back alley because of not paying gambling debts or whatever. And so there is the characters, the agents in the show start having to juggle the lives of the people they inhabited, knowing the people they inhabited were at their death signing, and then they inhabited their bodies. Yeah, source code. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it says, but seriously, do they ever try to address how much the slightest change you make when going back in time could erase not only yourself, but in fact everything in existence? They deal with it a little bit, but remember, this is a television show with a relatively low budget, so you know, a lot of like the special effects and things like that, where you get the show, they didn't go through a lot of that stuff. I mean, there is a little bit of the butterfly effect, but not in a very general, hey, if we do this thing, the future will be affected. And then during the course of the show, they're like, the future still happened. Well, of course it did, because you wouldn't be here, right? Because in a way, there's a little bit of a paradox, right? If they solve the future from being this dystopian apocalypse, then they would have never been sent back in time, which means they would have never affected things in the first place. So yeah, their simple presence means that the future must happen, right? I don't know. Drew says, sounds a little bit like the 2011 film Source Code. Have you seen that? Yes. Source Code really went into also delved into the idea of like the parallel universes, time branching, that those time branches are actually real, even though, you know, everyone who comes from their own time branch thinks they're the real one and everyone else is just like kind of artificial. Little sad too. I mean, it ended on a good note, but if you really take a look at Source Code, you're like, ooh, it's pretty bad. Yeah. Jay says, inhabiting the body of an autist, what happens if it's one of those genius autist savants who figures out what's going on and thwarts you? I didn't get to the last season of the show. It only had 3 seasons. Didn't get to the last season of the show, like what happens when the agent leaves the body of the person that they saved, right? I didn't get that far into it, and I honestly, for our purposes, I mean, we could deal with it. So we'll think about that, right? Like, if the agent inhabits the body, do the brains connect together, or is it just one personality over another? Ostensibly, the way the show presents it, the person who should have died, their mind is gone, and the person that takes them over is an agent that kind of knows who they are, but they don't have any emotional connection, right, to the families or friends or anything like that. But I like the idea of, like, could you imagine players, you tell your player characters, okay, listen, sorry, you tell your players, you get to make a character, but you don't get to decide what you physically look like. You don't get to decide your background or anything. You just hand them like random, you get to pick a random social component for the character. Like, you get to make up your skills, your mind, but you don't get to make up your body and the life that they live. And then boom, you get shoved into that body, and now you have to, you know, juggle their lifestyle. You don't get to pick if you're a man or a woman, young, old, none of that. And that's, I know that would come across a little bit odd, but I think in a gauntlet or a funnel type game like DCC or Shadow Dark, and mind you, this could very easily be incorporated into any modern sci-fi game. Although I think it'd be a little bit difficult to do it in fantasy, but not too difficult. But really cool if you, and also if you have a mechanism that rewards the player for handling the life of the individual they inhabit. That would like if you reward the behavior you want to see. So I don't know, badass martial fighter or something jumps into the body of a woman that is, you know, a stay-at-home mom trying to take care of the family. You know what I mean? Then it's like, I mean, could a player just be a sociopath and just murder the family and just be like, well, I'm done? Yes, but if they're rewarded for taking care of that family, that'd be kind of cool. It's, you know, with the mom trying to make excuses to leave the house and the dad coming home like, you're a little bit different today, while she's outside, you know, taking firearms and plinking cans and practicing with a, you know, edged weapon slashing through the garden or whatever. Be kind of cool. So the other, of course, part about travelers is, you know, what kind of missions, what actions do you do? And if you're a time travel agent, of course, you have to do like the sabotage missions, the heist missions where you have to steal important information, the kidnapping missions of individuals who are going to set things in motion, but those individuals have not yet done so. So, you know, going after the 20-year-old because you know when they get into their 60s, they're going to be a CEO that's going to create something that will bring about the apocalypse. And how do you rationalize affecting people? It's the, do you go back in time to prevent the birth of or murder kill the child of the individual that will grow to become this evil dictator or something like that. Lots of mission statements and whatnot. Now, what happens if and or when in your world building that the players leave the bodies of the people's lives? And what, how do they what would you say? How do they reinsert the person back into their life after taking over their life, knowing that the moment the agent took over their life, they were at their death's end, or not the end of they were at their end, which would probably lead to their death. I don't know. I think that would be a great end of a great outposting, West Marches kind of thing, right? Like, so player character jumps into a body of drug addict, takes over their body, has the limitation of having to deal with this addiction, removes the addiction, becomes a badass agent anyway, then has to leave that person and return them to their life. You know, then of course you have storylines like, well, what led to this person doing what they were doing? What were psychological issues? How did their family and friends react to this individual? Does this person have connections on the streets to like drug dealers and other kind of criminalization and whatnot? Oh, Drew. Slow clap on that one. The true apocalypse will be when male character in a female body experience menstruations for the first time. That ain't the only thing, right? There's a lot of my mind went pretty dark. There's some pretty horrible things that could happen if you are what would you call, re-instanced into someone else's body, experiencing certain things, right? And experiencing their life, even the mundanality of their life. But I love it. I love it so much. You know, I mean, what a great way to like take like the apathetic, unfeeling, I don't know, you know, grim dark agent that has to go into like I don't know, a 14-year-old's body. Like you start adding an elderly and children into this mix, and it just, it turns bad. It can turn really bad. Yeah. Although high school hijinks from like some battle hardened future soldier or something would be kind of cool as well. Don't want to get kicked off the tubes, but yeah, yeah, Drew. I feel you, or maybe I don't feel you enough. Yeah, I mean, anyway, there's some other things too, like not as horrible, but yeah, ladies, if you ladies getting sleeved into a gentleman that wakes up with the proverbial like morning salute, it's just like, what the hell is this thing? And I gotta go to the bathroom too. What am I supposed to do? Yeah, man. So yeah, there's some fun. There could be some fun antics, I think, with it. But this isn't a knock on like Quantum Leap or Travelers or anything. I mean, it does have to deal with how much money is spent on the show, but the social emotional drama portion of the show, I think, really is it's like what choice would you make if you could make, or in a polite society, I wish I could make these decisions kind of thing, where someone external enters the life of yourself. What decisions would they make that you would or would not have made in that particular situation? So an example would be, let's go to the drug addicted individual that just reached the point of their death and the agent inhabits their body. So, now that a new personality is inside this individual and they're navigating this person, what does the player character do? And when I say game the system, a particular incident happened in the television show Travelers, where the agent is inside of has the drug addiction, and he's communicating with his other agents. They're like, they've finally got together and they're assembling their knowledge about what they're supposed to do. And the agent is like, guys, I am not at full potential. I really can't even operate because and he's like, look at this, like, I've gotten this addiction. I need something. So one of the other characters is like, fine, we need you at what do you need to be at top, at your optimal performance? And he's like, I need some drugs. So they go get drugs for the character and literally, inject them. So it's like, listen, we need you to wake up right now. We need you he's like, just give me the drugs so I can help you out, because they're looking at it as a temporary fix. Like, we got a mission to do. And I can imagine player characters sitting around going like, okay, what my character has a gambling addiction? Fine. I'm going to rob that drug dealer, get his $50,000 and gamble it away so I can satiate my gambling addiction so we can get back to the mission, right? And while that sounds a little gamist, it's also give a person enough rope so they can hang themselves, kind of thing. And I think it would be kind of fun to give players like, hey, character that ignored their children at home and husband, you do realize you need to go back home at some point. And they're like, okay, how many dice am I losing because I'm not paying attention to family? You know what I mean? I think it would be kind of fun to play with that, and then let things start to roll downhill as the players keep trying to play this as a gamist thing, and their gamist mentality starts clashing with the dramatic social dynamics that they are inadvertently altering because of their presence. Jay says, did any of y'all read anything by Stephen Hawking? And he talk about the progression of time being connected to the expansion of the universe, and it would have to start contracting for you to go back in time. I know there's new thoughts about that as well. Of course, like the idea of like multiple worlds, and because of the like time is the universe is expanding, so then that and gravity affects time and thing. Yeah, maybe we might take a look at some articles about that, um, because of course it's all theoretical, and in Obsidian Star, the data cores are the physical embodiment of those theoretical sciences. So yeah, there's little issues with that as well. Um, plug, but you get the point, right? What else about travelers did I like? The uniqueness of coming up with basically two character types and blending them together. So the agents come from the far future, and their lives are far different. I mean, I suppose you could think of it like uh, a post-apocalyptic, Terminator-esque style world or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's you never really get to see it, and then you blend that with a mundane life, and you have to make a character, at least half of a character, who is at the edge of death. And what brought them to that was this through a disease? Was this through their own actions, like gambling, drug addiction, criminality, or whatever? Was this person just randomly assaulted on the street and was about to die, and then this agent takes over their body and whatnot, and then coming up with that idea and blending the two? I really think it's pretty creative. For example, a version of this is done in Wraith the Oblivion. I got to bring up another White Wolf game at some point. In Wraith the Oblivion, you play a character who's a wraith. You're dead. You're a ghost, and you coming up with what brought you to death is pretty interesting. I remember one of the people in my gaming group. Most people want to have like the very dramatic, like car wreck and explosions and things. And one of them was a soldier, and he lived a full happy life, and he died at like 89 or something in the hospital, and then passed on and was his younger self in his military outfit, and was like, well, why didn't you pass on? And his storyline was, well, the reason why he was still in the shadow realms, he didn't leave the living world but hasn't moved on to the dead world, he was still a ghost, was to protect his family and friends and his extended family and stuff. And I was like, that's a really cool idea. Yeah, Wraith is yeah. It's way cooler. It's way cooler. Wraith comes across as like a very like a gothic, dark, grimdark game, but it's more hopeful. You get in the weeds, it's a lot more hopeful than you think it is. But yeah, it's a great concept. I love those concepts. So they have a cool dark future. You never get to see it. As far as I know, I don't think they've ever shown it. But like I said, I never finished the show. I just like the premise. It was at a time where there was yet another good show that I wanted to see. Me being distracted. Drew says, I personally don't think time travel is or will ever be scientific. Yeah, so I think time is a single dimension. It makes for fun speculation fiction, though. Exactly. I mean, it's like the concept of it's the Fermi paradox problem, right? Like, will we ever be able to go at the speed of light? Because technically, if you the closer you get to the speed of light, the closer you get to time travel. So, it's like maybe we will never get to see the alien life that we think, intelligent alien life out there that we think we'll see, simply because it would be too many. I mean, the time scales are too long, right? Being stuck mentally still in the war reminds me of Godzilla -1. That was a great film. Godzilla -1 and the effects are like amazingly good for a low budget movie. Yeah. Almost a deconstruction in a way of like the Godzilla mythology, right? But Godzilla -1 is really good. It's really good. I saw the like making of the movie and how creative the filmmakers were, and I was just like, thumbs up, slow clap on that one. But yeah, time travel itself is time travel, and multiverses are like they're low-hanging fruit, because you always get the issue of like, hey, you want to go back in time and stop something. Well, why couldn't you just go back in time previous to the point you're at now to prevent the bad thing from happening that you already did, right? And then you get to a lot of paradoxes. Although, from what I understand, there are some low-budget, award-winning time travel movies out there. I remember seeing a foreign movie that was really fun about time travel. Because one of the issues with time travel is that a time traveler that makes a time machine that goes back in time to tell himself how to make a time machine means that there is no origin of the time machine. It automatically creates its own paradox. So yeah, because the minute a time travel machine exists, then it will have already existed, and then that means, and it goes into a big thing. Turning into a ghost has got to be way more plausible. The notion of being a disembodied consciousness doesn't go against the totality of science and can't the entire universe. Yeah. Also being a spirit, like Quantum Leap kind of did it, and this Travelers show did the same thing. If you think about it, right? They just because they came from the future to come back to stop an apocalypse, they're technically spirits inhabiting the bodies of people, and that you could if you want to do Dungeons and Dragons, right? The characters have intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. They don't get to pick their strength, dex, and con because that comes from the people they inhabit. And kind of a cool thing. I mean, you could very easily do this in most role-playing games by saying, hey, you get to pick half the character, but the other half the character belongs to someone else. So Wraith is like that. Wraith is a little bit far more difficult to inhabit people, especially at the beginning stages, but similar notion, right? Like the Wraiths having to scare people away from their haunts and whatnot. Yeah, Shai says, is the notion of multiverse consistent with Stephen Hawking's theories about the expansion of the universe? It's just there's no jumping universes. Yeah, exactly. There's some theories that say that instead of like going through a portal to another universe, that other universes are actually within our own, that change like the rules of relativity and the rules of science and things like that. If you go further to the farthest reaches of our own universe, it's just a different variation of it. And I mean, what was the television show that really embraced multiverses? Fringe. Fringe was one where even the main characters were able to portray different characters because they came from parallel universes, and they even had a doorway where you could go to different parallel universes and whatnot. Are you serious? I never knew that. Oh no. It always devolves to that. That's why I didn't want to bring that up. But yes, I stopped myself from bringing something like that up. The time travel paradox, right? And there's a lot of time travel paradoxes. Like, hey, if you go back in time, if you had a watch and then you go back in time and give yourself that watch, where the origin of the watch doesn't exist any longer, because you'll always get older and then go back in time and give yourself that watch, and then you have that watch in your hand and you never know where the origin of the watch is. It sense the danger before it happens. And of course that brings up the bigger issue that like speculative fiction always gives us those questions, and time travel helps us do that, right? Like if you could sorry, the movie just flashed in my head. A Minority Report with the predictive police force stopping crimes before they happen. And is it just to arrest people from committing a crime just before it happens? Of course, these crimes were murder, but or going back and stopping someone. You put yourself into like a godlike position where you know what's going to happen in the future. You're living that future. You go back in time to stop it, and you punish the people who are going to bring that about, but they don't understand that. I mean, they have no idea they were going to do it. I mean, they used it in the Terminator 2, right? The scientists for Cyberdyne Systems has the computer chip and the cybernetic arm, and the entire scientific branch of the business was discovering it. And of course, those breakthroughs end up creating Skynet, yada yada yada. And to be honest with you, if we want to do a logic fallacy thing and go in these circular thought patterns, the Terminator series will never end, because the machines are trying to go back in time. The humans want to go back in time and stop the creation of the Skynet, and Skynet wants to stop them, but it will keep happening, because if they actually stop it, then they've never gone back in time, because that future didn't never happen, right? But if it never happened, how did they stop it? So, etc. The act of going back in time created themselves. So there is no origin of Skynet. They actually literally created themselves. I think of consciousness as akin to the flame of a candle. The mind is intrinsically a product of the brain. I see not how that can be separated without breaking thermodynamics. Well, some would claim, and I don't know how real this is, but some would claim that our scientifically today that we just have neural pathways, and if you could duplicate the exact same neural pathways, then you could just duplicate a human brain. And and then we may not intrinsically know what the difference is between the copy and the real self. So and that brings, now that's part of like my post-human obsidian star, right? Like if you could copy another brain, if the human brain could be digitized and then you copy it and make an exact duplicate of that person, how different are they? It's a ship of Theseus kind of thing, right? The more you replace a human being, bits and pieces of them, when does the new one start and the old one disappear? And is that a thing? Like, will they actually disappear if you start replacing bits and pieces of people's brains? And of course, the concept of cloning, which, is it a physical cloning or mental cloning and whatnot? So yeah, I mean, the whole cortical stack is what is it? The cortical stacks in Altered Carbon, and the zips and jackets in Obsidian Star I'm writing, and Eclipse Phase, TTRPG, the tabletop role-playing game. The Eclipse Phase has the same thing with cortical stacks, where your player character is a mind and a body, or what is it, an ego and a morph, and there are storylines where you find out that you're not the original, you're actually a copy of the original. The original still hanging out, living your life, can be an issue. Shice is like, okay. I was like, I don't think that ever aired. Well, it wouldn't air here, but wow. Oh, this is sure to be. I was arguing about disembodied minds. Well, yeah, and mind you, listen, that's what tabletop role-playing games are for, right? Speculation, even if we don't think it's real. Like, do I think in our recent timeline we'll find intelligent life out in the universe? Probably not. But I do think there is life out in the universe, like bacterial and viral life. I wouldn't be surprised if we find it in our own solar system, to be honest with you. But totally made up, of course, but say it would be the closest semi-scientific explanation for Dr. Manhattan surviving disintegration. Yeah. The disembodied mind theory and whatnot. I mean, some would say the human body and mind has electrical synapses and produces heat, and upon death, where does it go? Like does your heat and electrical system dissipate or whatever out to, I mean, conservation of energy and all that kind of stuff. I suppose there could be an argument on a quantum level that, could someone scientifically prove that you're like a ghost? I don't know, but I think it would be kind of cool. Yeah, I've thought about that. Yeah, it was the Shice talks about, the mind, how the mind could be like a wave that could exist outside the body. I think putting a scientific spin on it would be pretty interesting in a creative aspect. right? Like, there's a Netflix. I always like to relate this to some type of television or movie. There's a Netflix movie called Spectral, very early on in the Netflix original movies, and this is Spectral. That movie was 2016. Yeah, 2016. Spectral, a Hungarian-American military science fiction action film written and directed by Nick Mathau, written by Ian Freed and George Nolfi. Someone says it was entertaining and enjoyable. The story was great and the acting was too. The music was good and the CGI was well made. It's a good mix of sci-fi and action and horror. Yeah, and Spectral was a scientific horror ghost action adventure movie, where human beings, spoiler alert, an experiment of messing with energies turned human beings into pain-racked, energized ghosts that were going after other people to escape their pain. So they were basically like nothing but embodied neural synapses firing off and whatnot. And so it'd be kind of cool to do like a ghost like. Well, technically there are those. The Holo Sapiens in Obsidian Star in the game are the equivalent of ghosts. Yeah, that's all I meant. The made-up scientific explanations for ghosts would be way less absurd than anything time travel related. No, never met any in real life. Never met any real paranormal investigators in real life, but that I guess you'd have to go down a certain mental pathway to like take that stuff seriously. And listen, I never say never, right? Like there are, you know, the paranormal investigators, the Bigfoot, you know, hunters and things like that. I mean, some things can be, most things can be taken too far, and but fun to speculate about that kind of stuff. I love it. The speculative nature of it, I really enjoy, and which brings me, I wonder how many really great, like, modern day fables and cryptids, is it cryptids, would be enjoyable in a horror game. I think Monty Cook Games put out something about Appalachia, and deals with like a deep hill folk woodsy Appalachian trail horror tabletop game, more or less, what is it, like 1920s to 1960s here in the United States. Wouldn't be too bad, but yeah, hard segue. Time travel, travelers, doesn't have to be time travel, but the idea that the player characters are minds inhabiting the bodies and lives of other individuals, even for temporary, I think it's kind of cool. And what an easy way to continue the game when people can't be there. I'm always looking for ways to continue the game that, or have a very low impediment to keep gaming. And the idea that players can dip in and out of people's bodies and show up and not show up and things like that, I think it's kind of cool. Now, do people like randomization in terms of like, hey, roll some dice to see who you randomly occupy? Players might not want that too much, but I think it would be cool. I mean, Shadow Dark and Dungeon Crawl Classics are a good example of people, and the OS people running back to the OSR with like a lot more randomization. Knave 2, second edition, Cairn second edition. So, you know, I think there's a place for like modern gaming and science fiction game to kind of embrace the same thing, and this would be a great way to do it. Visit museum at the house of Cassius Marcellus Clay, Civil War freedom fighter, and the tour guide started getting into ghost sightings in the house. Yeah. Didn't did some ghost tours in Savannah, Georgia, and they have a similar vibe, right? And New Orleans has a similar vibe with like ghost sightings and things like that, and people's suspicions and whatnot. And how many tabletop role-playing games have basically done the imagine this is real and then begin the setting that way, right? Like there's you guys are gonna have to tell me the name of it. There's an older tabletop game, I want to say from the late 90s, early 2000s, I want to say, that took the Greek/Roman mythology and was just like, yeah, all this stuff is real. Now play your character. Like the sun is literally Apollo taking his chariot through the sky, and then it brings on, then you bring on other questions like, well, if it's really like that, and you travel across the ocean, does that mean Neptune really could like, crash your ship against the rocks? And it's like, yeah, because these things are real in this game. And so, yeah, I think there's a conspiracy game out there that might have actually been called Conspiracy X, where imagine a world where all the conspiracies you think of are real, and the tabloid newspapers, because remember back in my day, they had newspapers. But yeah, the tabloid newspapers had like, imagine all of those things were real, and that's a pretty good concept. So. Anyway, not going to hold you guys much longer. Travelers, the television show, is it a good basis for a tabletop role-playing game? I think so. And I mean, if you wanted to do this in a more localized, less time travel, more localized thing, or even in fantasy, maybe the player characters live in a realm or location in your world, and they have to mind transfer to another part of your world to engage in the various things that are there. The Avatar movies, not the martial arts version, but the James Cameron versions ones. Those Avatar movies are similar, right? Hey, scientists go to a place, they need to communicate with the indigenous people. What do the humans do? Well, the humans inhabit the bodies of something else to operate. Yeah. Yeah, birds aren't real. Yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool. I mean, I think a modern game that takes like all not all of them. There's too many conspiracies. I think if you get your top 10 to 15 conspiracies in a modern sense and then make them real, and I don't mean your regular conspiracies about like whatever your political leanings are today. I'm talking like birds aren't real and squirrels and control the government, and there's like aliens. Like, I mean those wackadoodle, deep down the iceberg conspiracies. I think it'd be kind of a cool game to play in. I would not want to play that. The Greek deities are far too rapey for my. You are so correct. Yeah, Zeus by himself probably caused 86% of all like. Grapes and actual assaults out there. Yeah, Drew. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Although I think maybe something closer to like Spartacus or what's the movie Troy would probably be better. Where like in the movie Troy, I know people blast that movie. I love that movie Troy. I don't know why. Maybe it was just because of its time and place or whatever, but in the movie Troy, our hero Achilles, played by Brad Pitt, and his mom shows up, and there's no magic in the movie, but the people believe the magic is real, I think that would be far more interesting to approach. Achilles being the man killer whose golden skin can never be pierced except for his ankle because he was dipped in the river Leith, something like that. His mom being a goddess, and his mom actually shows up in the movie, but she's just standing in a stream. I guess she's like a water nymph or something, supposedly in mythology or whatever. I can look it up, but I'm not going to. But anyway, she shows up and she's the one that tells him, like, hey, you could stay at home and live a long life, but no one's going to ever know you. Or you could go to war. You'll probably live a short life, but everybody will know your name. A German joke about the word pigeon standing for tactical surveillance unit. Really? You're so funny. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I love these premises and to think about how to apply them. If you're stuck, this is all about mind fuel, right? It's like, what can I use? What's the simplest premise I can use to get the greatest squeeze? What the term of the juice isn't worth the squeeze. This is kind of the opposite. Like what small fruit can I squeeze to get the biggest payout? And I like a lot of these premises that are out there, meaning like, the Travelers time travel show is about time travelers from the future inhabiting the bodies of individuals who are nearing their death, and they are here to prevent the apocalypse in the future. So great, you got the external part, stop the apocalypse. You have the internal part, handling the life of the individuals they're inhabiting, and then you get the blending of the two. You know what I mean? How much do the agents care for the bodies and the lives that they are inhabiting? Do they care a lot? Do they not care at all? And then how do they game the system? If they have like I said, like addictions or physical restrictions or socioeconomic restrictions, being rich or poor, being religious affiliations, gender roles and things like that, and these people coming from the future coming to the past and going like, wait a minute, what? Go to war where everybody knows your name. Troy, the official prequel to Cheers. Go to war. Da, 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 da. Boom, 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 boom. I could imagine the trailer being done to the music. Yeah, where everybody knows your name. Hey, in the movie, literally, the warriors on both sides would stop and watch different people fight, like Hector and Ajax, or like Achilles and Hector and whatnot. Yeah, people step back like, I know them. Hey, let's watch. And the mind fuel extract from today's episode, Obsidian is better. Well, thank you very much. Yeah. Not much to show you. What the heck? The Obsidian Star Google Doc is available. Let's take a look at it. I'll do it. I'll bring it up. Yeah, then I'll share this out. But the because we're at the end here, and I might have to close. Yeah, I'll close this. I have to close the chat down just temporarily. So this is the Google Doc that I've worked on or been working on, and if we do the number of words, let's go to the word count. We are at 15,007 words, which is all right. And then if you go to the number of pages, we're at 49. Now there are some gaps in here and whatnot, but yeah, it goes through like, what do you do in the game? Obsidian Star is the name of the starship that you will be part of. We go through like parts of the game. What is the game? Like, be a star, explore the system, salvage data cores, zip into your jacket, ask the hard questions, and then this complicated thing, like, where did Obsidian Star come from? Well, it's in the gravity of Substratum Protocol. Well, Substratum Protocol is published by Pandian Games under the Orc license, which they themselves got that from Substratum Protocols from a Hinson Hijinks solo plus mystery game, which is based on Breathless and Firelights, which is developed by different people under Creative Commons. So there's like this what was that? Man, the word, not appropriation, assertion. Anyway, what game comes from what and what is listed there. So a little complicated, but it legally works itself out. And then it go into what is Obsidian Star the game, what is Obsidian Star the setting, and I showed you guys this before about a lethal void, the Fourth War, what is Kessler syndrome, fucking. I think I might change that because it sounds a little too nasty, but it's basically piracy, like swashbuckling, buccaneer, getting screwed over. No aliens, data cores we talk about. We are our own aliens, so on and so forth. There's no money. So like, how do you measure wealth with no money? Well, there's like ice, script, not script, but script, bricks, and well dole. And then like, what is well dole? Like welfare and dole. And how is that measured? Like what kinds of societies use that system? You know, purpose, legacy, recognition, achievement, pleasure. And of course, there's also clout. And then we get into the dice and a dice mechanic. And some of the acknowledgements, I gotta change that up. Touchstones, different movies like Blade Runner, both Blade Runner movies, The Expanse, Humans, the TV show, Gattaca, Terminator, Terminator 2, Her. I'm sure there's 100 others in here, but those are some of the main ones I'm gonna put in. And then, what's the role-playing game? What do you do? Who's the GM? Called an admin. What do you need? What are the and then cycles of play. And I'll leave it right there. Let's see if I can move this down just a little bit. Shit. Seriously? Go back. Sorry. Right here. Cycle of play. The players will roll 2 polyhedral dice called capabilities. Do not add them together. In opposition, the admin will roll 2d12 called a challenge. Is it a challenge or challenges? I guess it's called a challenge. Do not add them together. The player will want equal or lesser results of the 2d12 challenges dice. The player collects the results of the 2d12 dice and keeps them as discoveries. The player spends the discoveries for advancement as clues or modify actions. So that's basically the dice mechanic. And then there's an explanation as like why a singularity system. The roll under mechanic mirrors humanity's uncertain journey towards the singularity. As we approach our destiny, we are also losing our grasp on our humanity. Mind you, this is my own bullshit, but you get the point. Reflected in the game's unconventional rules, rolling low for success creates cognitive dissonance. Are our options, like the D20, outpaced by reason, rolling a D4? Humanity has a cornucopia of technological resources, yet AI and quantum computing seemingly can predict the future. Is free will, having all the options in the world by rolling a D20, subsumed by predictive logic, such as rolling a D4? Will our immortality be our downfall? Will we ascend, devolve, conquer the galaxy, or become an unfeeling hive mind, purposeless in an unrelenting biomechanical swarm of trillions? Anyway, that's it. So Thank you very much, guys, for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. And getting this laid out. I'm still playing with Affinity. I'm going to have to turn it into a lesson plan for myself. Like literally sit down and go like, okay, I'm going to do this for an hour and a half for these days, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, to really learn it. But rule summaries, capability checks, and then there's the stepping the dice up and down, good, bad, good outcomes, bad outcomes, and okay outcomes. And then the capabilities, and these are your capabilities: make, break, dash, evade, think, and sway. And then the admin, the game master, picks one, and then the player picks another one, and then you roll those two dice, and the dice are assigned to them. So we're done with that. Hey, thanks, dude. Thank you. Yeah, the Affinity will come faster than you think. Trust me. Yeah, because so. Since you're so glad you defeated update monsters. Yeah, they were hanging out in the background. So actually, let me turn this off. So my problem with Affinity, and it's not. There's nothing wrong with the program. It's something wrong with me because I know what I want. And I'm fighting against my own desire for perfection when the rule is good and better to be good enough, because perfection is the enemy of good, right? Yeah. Affinity was gifted to me, and I feel like it deserves. How do you explain it? Like. I still have my kid gloves on, and so I'm very appreciative of it, because Affinity's freaking expensive. As a format to lay out things, it's a publishing tool. It is a illustrative tool as well. And yeah. Still learning it. And one of the other things I keep doing is backtracking, because I'm like trying to learn. I'm pushing and pulling all of the levers, and then I have to go back and reset to pull another lever, because I want to see what that lever does out of context with the other levers. So I'm messing with, what's that magic item in Dungeons and Dragons? The big organ. Oh, there's plenty wrong with me. You just don't know. It's new to you kind of thing. Yeah, it's powerful to be able to do what you need for anything you work on. Yeah, no, DVD, there's nothing wrong with you. Oh, you don't know me. Nah. But thank you, guys. Anyway, don't know what we'll talk about tomorrow, but there's always plenty to talk about tomorrow, right? There's always plenty to talk about. I wonder how close to public opinion. Yeah, he's here. Yeah, I'm very surprised. It's early ass in the morning, up at the crack of ass. Yeah, I'm one of the few people that's like up at this time. That's why you guys across the pond can get get this show at a reasonable time. Those of us here in the States don't really have a particular reason to be up that early, unless you're heading off to work or something, or just going to bed, or maybe you can't sleep. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And also checking out the what is it? Languages, the medium. Okay, let me find it. YouTube. Here we go. I'm gonna go find it. To put a shout out. Here we go. And let's share this out. Yeah, I was taking a look at conversation is the medium in TTRPGs, and that cycle back and forth, right? That uh, description, reaction, result. Description, reaction, result. Tennis, ping pong, pickleball in tabletop role playing games is pretty interesting because there's a lot of games. Yep. Same thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Runeslinger did a response video to it. We haven't done response videos in a long time. I guess it's just because we're on different platforms doing that. But yeah. Conversation is the medium. So guys, go and see if I can find the link here. Let's see. And let's put this here. Here's a link to the video. So check it out. Boom. If you guys don't mind. Also, you'll be the smarter for it. Anyway, guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being part of the show. Also, I should actually put out more invites. We haven't done panels like in forever. For those of us that remember the old RPG Brigade, there's a video that was just put out by WASD20 where he talks about the fact that he only put out 4 videos last year, and he still remembers back in the day. You're fine. Yeah, he still remembers back in the day where from the RPG Brigade as well, and he puts his 2 cents into the is YouTube failing YouTubers in the TTRPG space, and talks about that as well. So yeah, maybe we need to bring that back. Maybe we need to bring. I mean, we could literally bring back the Brigade or something close to it, but then that he says, "Oh, we're both going to continue the conversation." Love these conversations. So yeah, we'll get into it. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Join us for 6 a.m.-ish, Monday through Friday-ish, which is what I'm putting at the end of the doobly-doos. Join us on YouTube or Twitch, simulcast here. Actually on Facebook as well. You find me, Dave Brian Jackson on Facebook. You even find me that way if you prefer getting these shows on Facebook. But yeah, simulcast on those 3 platforms. I really should be broadcasting on my own Discord channel, but I'm underserving that as well, but that's my own problem. So anyway, guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Please, if you're running low, please top off on that minefield. Guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Bye.